I'm sad to say I watched the full Trump-Kamala Harris debate this morning on my way into work, and it was boring. I have to be completely honest, guys. I know that people want to hear about how it's this huge triumph for Trump, how there was so many incredible takedown moments, how the energy was back, and I think there's a lot of truth to parts of that, because Trump certainly was a lot more tenacious. He was much more on attack than he was at the Joe Biden debate. But I think perhaps it's just a part of me and my preferences that I find these kinds of big American moderated debates quite dull and boring. Maybe it's because, as much as I dismiss it and say it's so terrible, I'm so used to the schoolyard bullying style of debate that goes on in UK Parliament, where it's flinging thinly veiled insults at one another while all of the rest of your group goes whoa behind you, that this underwhelmed.
Do you think that we've just reached the stage of civilizational grief where we've hit acceptance, and lots of other people that still care about this are in the bargaining stage, and so they think that recycling constant WWE style smackdowns is actually going to move politics forwards, and they think that if Trump just squeaks out another really convincing policy proposal or another brutal insult leveled at Harris, then it will change all the minds of the single women voting purely on the basis that they've been convinced the other side is weird. Because at this point, I think the sides are so entrenched, these debates basically do nothing.
Well, that's one of my concerns with the whole thing, which is that the debate was essentially a reaffirmation of all of the policies that we already know that Trump is going to do, and maybe a hint at the policies that Kamala Harris has been not very forthcoming in explaining to people. She was going on about how there was going to be some kind of accommodation economy, some kind of striving economy, basically an economy that works for the middle class. And Donald Trump was talking about how his economy wasn't just going to work for the middle class, it was going to work for everybody, with his tax cuts and his tariffs that were going to be put onto different products coming from overseas, especially in places like China. But we'll get into all of that as we get into the rest of the segment. First, for those on the website, that you'll already have heard of this, but for those watching on YouTube, we actually have, after the immense and fantastic success of the first issue of Islander, a second issue available on the website right now. It features articles from very many great, fantastic, bigly authors like Raw Egg Nationalist returning for issue 2, Morgoth's come back, Dr. Nimi Parvini, but we also have some new authors who've contributed, including the fantastic Stefan Molyneux and the Golden One, amongst others. You even have many more, and that's me. I'm included in many more. I got an article in there, although don't let that put you off. That is available on the website for $14.99. You can find the link in the description below. And unlike last time, we don't have a pre-order system in place. We are printing them to order. So once you print it, the aim is that it should be with you within 2 to 3 weeks. So please get on that. It's a fantastic product, and it will only be available for a limited time and a limited run. Along that, we also have more merch for the Islander, and you can get stuff like these t-shirts. My personal favourite one is this. I'm going to have to show it off. Look at this. Look at that bad boy. Rory really knocked it out of the park for that one. As an authentic dyed-in-the-wool metalhead myself, it tingles me. It tingles me in all the right places. That's fantastic. And I will be getting one of these myself. That's going to go right next to my in the Path of the Forest shirt from the last run. So yeah, get a hold of all of that whilst you still can, because it is all limited runs. Anyway, back onto the news. So yeah, I watched the debate. Kamala Harris, if I'm going purely by vibes,
which is the most important thing in politics,
as most people do. Donald Trump, despite obviously being getting along in his age right now, seemed energetic. He seemed a bit tenacious. He was on the attack again, unlike when he was against Biden, because he knew that all he needed to do with Biden was stand there and watch as Biden sank himself. So he was energetic, interrupting, bit more combative, which was all very good. Kamala Harris has the voice, mannerisms, and air of a naggy HR woman. And I think that Americans should purely vote against her and vote for Donald Trump just on the basis that, do you want the nagging HR woman to run your country and be delivering speeches for the next 4 years?
So I think that Trump's tactic of being concise, direct and measured during the Biden debate served him well, not just because Biden actively has dementia and was falling apart like the guy that drinks from the wrong cup at the end of Indiana Jones 3, but also because it pushed back against the perception that he's too pugnacious, that he is in this for his own ego, and that he just wants to be there to insult people that have personally slighted him. And so I do think if there is another debate, which I think is unlikely given it's approaching the election.
I think I've seen that Elon Musk wants to host one, but he would not expect Kamala Harris to show up.
No, I think that two things should happen. One, in any future debates, if they happen, it's unlikely that Kamala will agree to them, he should go back to his more reserved, statesmanly, I am the king in waiting, you're mental, you've had 4 years to screw up the country, here's how I'm going to fix it like an adult persona. And as Baron Trump, our future Caesar, of course, has been advising his dad, go on other podcasts and allow the at-length platform where you can't be frustrated by a partisan moderator to show off your agenda and show off how personable you are. The podcast with Theo Von was very good. I wouldn't be shocked now that Trump has been...
Hasn't he also appeared on Logan Paul, of all places?
I'm not sure. He may well have done. He had a photo up with Jake Paul, didn't he? I remember that.
I believe so, yeah.
I think I wouldn't be shocked. Joe Rogan refused to have Trump on his podcast last time around. This time. Well, he's been endorsed by RFK and Tulsi Gabbard, which were Joe's preferred candidates. So I wouldn't be shocked if you see Trump on Rogan, and that will do better than any sort of debate with Harris.
Yes, and you mentioned the moderators. There was definitely a case to be made for this, that Donald Trump was debating 3 people at the same time. The moderators seemed a lot more combative of the claims that Trump was making versus the ones that Kamala Harris was making. For instance, one of the particular ones that I noticed was when Kamala Harris was mentioning that, Donald Trump's government left us with record unemployment, all of these different economic problems, and we managed to bounce back from that and get everything back in order. If Donald Trump had said such a thing, the moderators would have jumped in to correct him. Donald Trump, in fact, had to correct her himself when the moderators, in fact, seemed to be trying to scoot the conversation along and get away from that subject, because Donald Trump pointed out, hey, we were in the middle of a pandemic right then. We handled the pandemic great. Obviously, on the Republican side, there's a debatable question as to whether Donald Trump did handle the pandemic correct or not, but still, those were the circumstances of the economic downturn that happened at the end of Donald Trump's administration, whereas all of the years leading up to it were, for all intents and purposes, great for Americans economically.
Well, they were in a much better position during COVID lockdowns at the end of Trump's term than after the COVID lockdowns, because of Biden's Inflation Reduction Act, because of the mass money printing he conducted. You just look at the job records. Every single year when they're revised, hundreds of thousands of them get shaved off. Lots of the jobs were bounce-back jobs coming out of predominantly Democrat lockdown states and rehiring. Lots of them were also federal employment jobs, like hiring the thousands of IRS agents. And so Trump having to correct that on the fly. Another example was when he said that Governor of Virginia Ralph Northam had proposed post-birth abortion as a possibility, and the moderator stepped in and said, that's not legal in any state. Actually, something to note, I think it was 2018 or 2019, Kamala Harris, when a senator, voted against the Born Alive Protection Act, which means that if any baby survives an abortion attempt, the doctor can now just leave it to die of exposure on an operating table. Kamala Harris endorsed that, so I would say that's a kind of post-birth abortion right there. So the moderator's not holding her to task on that and actually actively frustrating Trump.
Again, the fact-checking was very partisan in the way that it was being used, especially against Trump, which is especially disappointing because those were outright lies, as you've clarified there, being peddled not only by Kamala but by the moderators as well, which is annoying when abortion seems to, for a lot of female voters in America, to be the one hot topic issue that they actually care about and could win their vote. So if you're trying to appeal to them, the very fact that Donald Trump is having lies said to him and about him on air that aren't being contested by the moderators and supported by the moderators, that's disappointing to see, but at the same time not surprising in the slightest. So that's one of the big hot button topics that was discussed. The way it was formatted was, a typical no audience like the Joe Biden one, where you've got the moderators proposing the questions. Each candidate has 2 minutes to give their answer, and then there's a bit of back and forth in between all of that. So it's done in a very orderly way, but again, it made it very dull, going by policy, which is very important, I understand, but does not make for the most engaging listening. But I think what was the best thing that Donald Trump did did was that almost every single policy that they were discussing was that he wrapped it back around into the immigration issue, which I think even more so than abortion for many people is going to be a deciding factor for most voters, especially in the wake, as we'll get onto, of the Springfield, Ohio case where the 20,000 Haitians have been, I think it's fair to say, unleashed is the appropriate term, on the local citizens.
They're acting as they would do in Haiti, surprise, surprise.
That magic soil, it takes some time to work, doesn't it? You need to wait for it to really kick in before you start to get results. So, yeah, I think Trump was right. He made some very strong statements regarding immigration, and he actually made some great points that engaging in the debate in the first place is basically a waste of time. There was a slight criticism of the entire American electioneering system at this debate, because Trump was pointing out, why are we doing this when instead you, being vice president of the current administration, could be at the White House right now coming up with solutions, proposing solutions, enacting solutions, making decisions to fix the problems that are happening in this country. And again, one of the things that I noticed from Kamala Harris when I was able to get past the irritating nasal whine of her voice was that she didn't actually talk about any of the achievements of the Biden administration.
Because there aren't any.
Yeah. Makes it kind of difficult, doesn't it? She was making lots of promises for what's going to happen in the future. She was going to be giving a $50,000 tax rebate or tax cut to small business owners who are going to be making their starting up new small businesses. There's going to be some kind of tax cut for the middle class, and then trying to say that Donald Trump was only going to give tax cuts to the rich and the billionaires, etc., etc. All of the same rhetorical talking points that we would expect these days. Donald Trump just turned around and said, "You're a liar, you're a Marxist, your father is a Marxist professor, we all know what you're actually like, you're one of the most far-left liberals who's ever been in the government of the United States." So he was quite effective in doing that. But I think some of the most important points can be basically summed up in a few clips that I was able to find. One, which is when Donald Trump went very, very hard talking about, why are we wasting time? Why are you doing this? Yes, I've noticed. Ignore him. This is just the clip that this particular man was able to get.
Average Kamala Harris fan in the bottom right.
Yeah, she's so brat, don't you know? So here's Donald Trump excoriating her on why are we doing this debate when you could be actually solving the problems.
Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate, because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border, because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The President of the United States, you'll get him out of bed, you'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, right. You'll say, come on down to the office, let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed.
Mr.
Those
President,
people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked to
A really, really strong statement from
That was
there.
2016 Trump.
Yeah, that was 2016 Trump. And when you get 2016 Trump coming out, which did happen a lot more often in this debate, he has the same effect. He has that same charisma. He can grab your attention. He can get you to laugh. But as well, he's advertising himself as that man of action. He's saying, this administration, all that they've done has been a complete failure. Everything that they've done is something that this country is ashamed of and has embarrassed us on the national stage. I am the man of action who will make the difficult decisions that we need to see in this country to fix those problems. So I think in moments like that, he was very, very strong. And I think Roaring Nationalist actually took out a clip from his closing statements, which sum it up very nicely here.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like We're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President.
So a lot of Trumpisms thrown in there. Quite a bit of fire. You know, some have accused him of being rambly, but I think he gets the point across that he's going for quite well. And again, that is the important question that I think he kept harping on throughout. Why haven't you done it then?
The best way that I have found to frame any political issue is to put it on the people who are in charge. They are to blame because all of these consequences are downstream of political choices. Every single immigrant, legal immigrant, who kills a member of the indigenous population, that is a political choice made by the government to keep making that case, as he did there, effective.
Yes, certainly effective. He certainly thought it was effective because he went on Truth Social straight after and said, I thought that was my best debate ever. Especially since it was 3-on-1.
Is he Robert De Niro? What?
Close enough, isn't he, really?
Forget about it!
Hey, no, I mean...
Why isn't he doing this on Twitter?
This is the question. He did put a big post on Twitter a few weeks ago, didn't he? But I think that's the only activity that's been on there since then. So, I mean, his posts on Truth Social inevitably get onto Twitter one way or another. So I suppose he thinks to himself, I don't need to do it directly anyway. And also he has confidence within his own with his own platform. So, you know, I can't blame him for that. But I think again, I mentioned the Ohio situation. That might end up actually being a turning point, because if we're going to talk about how, you know, ghetto for Trump might have flipped a few voters within the typically Democrat strong black American vote, then we've got to talk about how the kind of bad publicity that's coming to the Biden administration through potentially cats and dogs being eaten by rabid Haitians on the streets of Springfield, Ohio, is a bad PR move for the Biden administration and might win Trump some votes as well, especially with the slop AI meme campaign that immediately launched afterwards.
This.
Yeah, I kind of love it.
And also, the great thing about this is it positions the wholesome love of the Anglo, of all of their furry friends and feathered friends, against the third world barbarism of, if it crawls, walks, or squawks, I'll eat it. Like, that's... And so it just shows a big civilizational difference, and again, it shows it's a political choice as to what attitude we have towards animals and who is brought in to change that attitude.
Yeah, certainly, and Trump was one to actively jump on it during the debate. Here's a little clip.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country, and it's a shame.
It's a shame. I love the passion in his way. They're eating the dogs.
It sounds like Frank Reynolds.
It really does. It's so good. But also, you know, we've seen this footage, these photos come out.
How can it be debunked? There are photos of it. The man has a whole goose
Yeah.
I've
avoided the videos of people eating cats, but I have seen that they're going about.
It's happened in other European countries as well. We've seen it. Libs of TikTok has procured a police report, police officers, where it's been called in that the Haitian migrants have been abducting the geese. I've got friends like Nate Hockman who's going down there to interview the locals next week. So all of this, it's been debunked by local officials. Yeah, because it looks bad, but it is actually happening.
Yeah, well, local officials actually have a decision and choice that they can make themselves, which is, are you going to report on it? Are you going to log it? Or are you going to admit it? Are you saying that local government can't also be corrupt or have its own agenda that it wants to push and will spin or hide things because of that? I think that's very naive and foolish, or more likely just politically motivated in the first place. But as I mentioned, there is the meme AI campaign going on right now to position Donald Trump as king of the kittens, which is pretty great.
This is great.
This is great. If you're not watching and just listening right now, I'd suggest you just look at your phone, unless you're in your car or something. So just look at the screen and see some of these. They're fantastic. Normally AI can be a bit hit and miss and a bit try hard, but this is great. Look at this.
It's wholesome and also reclaims the discourse of Trump and Vance putting off quote-unquote childless cat ladies. It's actually, we're family friendly, we're also feline friendly.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Also, I don't know personally, I don't know specifically, but I can't imagine that Donald Trump hates cats. Here he is in Springfield, Ohio, actively saving cats from rabid Haitians. What a hero. This
Scroll down. Look, they're eating the dogs is trending.
Oh, yeah.
In all caps.
They're eating the dogs. And I assume this is what he did immediately after the assassination attempt. He got off the podium and saw some Haitians attacking cats and just knew what he had to do. He said, fight. Fist in the air.
I joked with you off air. Maybe these Haitians just took the ducks are free meme from Alex Jones a little too seriously.
Yeah, perhaps. But even then, you're not supposed to eat them, you weirdos.
Take care of them.
This is what your cat is doing when you're away from the house. You've always wondered. We have footage.
Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep calling this the Chinese virus? Why do you keep calling this the Chinese?
There you go. Your cat loves him. You're going to say no to your cat? If you are a childless cat lady right now, wouldn't you want to make your cat proud? Here's Kamala Harris in the meantime. What she's planning on doing, this is a look. I've looked into my crystal ball. This is a vision of Kamala Harris's America. This is what she's going to be doing in the White House kitchen.
Paired with a nice box of wine, I'm sure.
Oh, sure. Only one? My goodness. Here's what happened to Garfield after Biden and Kamala got their hands on him. Tragedy.
I wonder why they couldn't rebuild after the earthquake. Is it maybe because their civilization is really backwards?
We also have live footage from what happened when the Haitians arrived in Springfield.
Looks like kittens back on the menu, boys.
Biden's fighting Urukai at the ready.
Well, I have taken to referring to the sort of graffiti you see in diverse metropoles as the White Hand of Saruman.
Yeah, actually, that works. That works quite well. And we've got footage of. This is not the link that I put in there. Here's the footage of Donald Trump. This is real, by the way. Don't fact check me on that. Kissing ducks.
He needs to retweet this.
He does. He needs to actively go out and do this as a photo op. Is what he needs to do.
Trump feeding ducks would be a good, especially with the grandkids. That'd be a really nice photo.
Exactly, but he's already done enough, I would say, in just highlighting the issue as part of the debate to signal to everybody who cares about the issue that he cares about the issue. Did Kamala say anything about it? No, she didn't.
Did you see the Gollum post, by the way?
No, I missed that one.
It's the man with the geese, and it's contrasted to Gollum when he's singing in the Forbidden Pool, and it's like the ducks and geese are free to eat.
Oh, no. And I think one of the best things about this is that it's triggering the libs. Here is Eric Salwell going berserk over it.
This is the guy that farted live on TV. Remember that?
Apparently he also slept with a Chinese.
Yeah, her name was Feng Feng.
You want some fun? Works every single time.
What in the hell is this? The chairman tweets, "Protect our ducks and kittens in Ohio," because he goes down some crazy rabbit hole, completely debunked that aliens are eating pets.
It's not aliens, it's Haitians.
My God. Are you okay, Mr. Chairman?
Wait, is this real?
Because last year, for a very
it was an
long
edit.
time, you tweeted and promoted Kanye West as he was calling for genocide against the Jews, and you kept it up. And now, when we have victims coming here, you're tweeting this nonsense. I don't know why you would do this. I hope you're okay. I don't know if the aliens who are eating your ducks are in the room with us right now, but Mr. Chairman, this is a serious issue. These people have loved ones who have been lost, and you tweeted this.
This is a profoundly unserious person.
A man actually losing his mind over a fun meme of Donald Trump protecting ducks and cats. Not even a meme, actual photo, confirmed, fact-checked.
It is
Harry
actually
Robinson,
happening.
true.
You liar.
Well,
but
yeah, exactly.
Again, I shouldn't be shocked by a man who cheats on his wife with a Chinese spy to have any integrity.
All they know how to do is lie, Connor. We know this. And then, of course, there are the incredibly dishonest framings, as highlighted by Pagliacci, the hated, from leftists, saying that, but white rednecks go duck hunting, so what's the problem with this guy going into the local park and breaking the neck of a goose? Yeah, sure, you've got your duck hunting license and you've got all these regulations that you need to stick to, but this guy went and randomly broke the neck of a potentially endangered goose, so it's the exact same.
Okay, I know recreational duck hunters from the States. I don't get it, personally. I don't actually eat duck just because I feel too guilty, right? But they are playing...
I would go hunting if I went to America, but I wouldn't want to shoot... I feel like ducks, it's not fair.
Yeah.
I like ducks.
They are... Oh, Canada geese are a protected species, apparently, as well.
There you go.
This is also illegal. But they are playing into entire conservation ecosystem. So the money that the hunters pay with their licenses, with the rental of equipment, that goes into conserving the natural area and making sure the actual duck population flourishes. This is just a random third worlder abducting the feathered friends that kids feed in a park. There's a pretty big distinction there. If you don't see that distinction, you're fundamentally dishonest or stupid.
Well, there's a few examples of the dishonest distinctions that could be made, but I like the one that Pagliacci put at the bottom, which is the equivalent would be someone getting raped and you saying to them, well, you have sex, don't you? With the smug look on your face. But that is essentially what's happening to America, isn't it? It's being raped. And it's being raped by the Biden administration, and if things go the wrong way, by the potential Kamala administration as well. So, whilst the debate itself left a bit to be desired for me in terms of pure entertainment value, these are very, very important decisions that are going to have to be made in the coming months. So, if you're going to go out and vote in America, vote wisely.
I hope you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, and if you want to see what else we're up to, Harry produced a video on the history of the gay rights movement, and if you want to see what else we're up to, you can follow us on Twitter where we post links to everything else. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.